Namaskar friends, this is NJ, your host on this channel. So friends, in this video we will have our discussion on this upcoming retrograde motion of the planet Saturn. So friends, as Saturn governs our career, all sort of discipline in our life, the global order. So when such a planet goes through transition in its motion, a planet which is reputed to be as karmic, which has got a record of all of our actions, all of our deeds. So that means whether Saturn Dasha right now is active in your case or not, whether you are in a Sadesati or not, it is definitely going to be having an impact in your life. So how that is going to be impacting you friends, in this video we will have our discussion on that. And friends, I always say that whenever something big is meant to happen, you get a confirmation of that from multiple direction. So in this period of time which we will be discussing, when Saturn is going to be retrograde in the motion, like we will be witnessing a eclipse in the month of the August. Over and above that, now the major planets will cross through the Ketu. So that means a lot is in the pipeline. So we will have our step-by-step discussion on that. And friends, before we will start our discussion, so the way you know the whole practice, first we will pray to Lord Ganesha, who is the Hindu god of auspiciousness, good beginnings, and who presides over all the knowledge of mystic sciences known to humankind. So Om Vakratun Mahakaya Suryakoti Samprabha Nirvignam Kurumadeva Sarva Kareshu Sarvada. Om Ekdantai Vidmahi Vakartundai Dhimahi Tanno Danti Prachodhyat. We will also invoke the blessings of the Shani Dev as well. I'm sorry. Om Bhag Bhavai Vidmahi Mrityu Rupai Dhimahi Tanno Shani Prachodhyat. So friends, if you will give attention to the timeline over here, so as you can see that generally it is believed by the astrologers that if in the transit or if in a retrograde motion, if a planet even shift the nakshatra, somehow that motion, that period becomes very important. So we know that Saturn within the Pisces right now is transiting in the Revati Nakshatra. But in this period of its retrograde from July 26th till December 10th, it will retrograde from the Revati and it will enter the Uttara Bhadrapada Nakshatra as well. So that means it is definitely going to be significant. And whatever I will explain you as a form of the results, it will carry the combined impact of when Saturn is in Revati and when it will shift back to the Uttara Bhadrapada. So as you can see the dates on your screen, that July 26th is the time when Saturn will turn retrograde. On October 9th, Saturn will enter the Uttara Bhadrapada Nakshatra, being ruled by Saturn in itself. And finally on December 10th, Saturn will turn direct. Now friends, when we talk about like how to navigate the retrograde, the key guidelines, because there has been many theories over there. Like some astrologers say that when a planet is retrograde, it starts giving results of a house previous to it. Some people say that when a karmic planet like Saturn is retrograde, it starts giving you the result from the past, unfulfilled promises, or this is going to be a time of the introspection, of recalibration. So if I were to say friends, and I'm saying that specifically keeping the boundaries of Pisces in the mind, because we cannot even overlook this fact that Pisces is the ultimate sign of compassion, of surrender, of, I would say, the highest of the moksha signs. So that means the very first thing which I would say for everyone that like retrograde is definitely a time when you have to give more emphasis on the audit. Now, whether Saturn is your governing planet or not, whether you are in a Saturn Dasha, in a profession ruled by Saturn or not, somehow Saturn has a say in all of our actions. So any reckless kind of expansion spree and like reckless kind of actions and getting into those areas, avenues where you do not have any prior experience or knowledge, especially when Saturn is retrograde, is never considered as very wise. So the very first advice which I want to give is that audit before launching anything. So this is an exceptional period to finish the old lingering projects, refine the technical frameworks or rewrite the protocols, and hold off on like launching massive and entirely unvetted initiatives until Saturn turns direct in the December. We also say friends because Uttara Bhadrapada has to do with the emotional mental resilience. Like this is Uttara Bhadrapada boundaries are considered as the peak of the meditative powers. So I would say that build the physical and mental endurance during this time. Whether the weight training works for you, nature therapy works for you, yoga works for you, but do something. And lastly, like many astrologers also say this thing, that this is a very good time for any pitri karmas. Like a lot of the times I have seen, there was a client of mine from the southern part of India. When his father passed away, he built an orphanage on his name. Like he was a rich, wealthy person. And later on, like when I went through his timelines, that was the time when Saturn was transiting his ninth house. So somehow Saturn can bring some karmas, grief in our life, but through those grief, it gives us, like, a chance to structure our life, pay our old dues, or do something which is very philanthropic or humanitarian in nature. So yes, if you have any like a financial debt or anything from the past which you settle down, this could be considered as very wise in this phase, in this period of time. So friends, on this note, let's start our discussion briefly looking at all the zodiac signs. So I would say that when it comes down to karmic planet like Saturn, you have to observe it both from your ascendant and the moon sign, because ascendant will tell about the tangible physical results, and all the karmic events which happen in our life, observing it, especially in case of Saturn, Rahu, Ketu, observing it from your moon sign also becomes very important. So now friends, when we talk about Aries natives, so friends, we know this thing that Saturn being your 10th and 11th lord, right now is transiting in your 12th house. So it has got its own pros and cons. If I were to say 12th house Saturn for the Aries Lagna can give you success in the foreign land. It can actually take you to the peak of the meditation, spirituality. But at the same time, many people who get into lawsuit, litigation, aimless wandering, that also happened during this time. So now comes the question that when Saturn will turn retrograde, how it will impact you. So friends, the very first thing is that this is going to be, and let's say if you're a Aries moon, so that means your Sadhasati is also going on. So I would say that this is a time for you to have a deep audit of your subconscious mind and the expenditures. So outward projects may feel delayed and your attention is forced inward. It is actually time to cut out energetic drain, fix your sleep cycles, and embrace solitude. Avoid making any impulsive investments or running away from your hidden responsibilities. So, friends, like what is happening for the Aries native, especially when we talk about your water houses, like fourth house, eighth house, 12th house. So, you have Jupiter exalted in the fourth house, you have Saturn now being retrograde in the 12th house. So, especially when we talk about emotions, empathy, nourishment, spirituality, compassion, regarding that, this could be one of the very best combination. Especially if you are driven by the humanitarian or any social work, like social responsibilities and all, this is going to be a good transit. But when we talk about like expansion, making some abrupt decision, abrupt changes in your career, so I would say you have to be very careful during this time. See, if you are of that age, if you're running a dasha, or if you are in Saraswati and all of that, which promises life change, career change, then it's fine. But don't enforce any change in this period of time. It has more to do with audit, reconciliation of your actions. And even in your actions, in your career, if there are going to be those circumstances, situation where you feel yourself lost, or where you feel that people are grouping against you, like it's much better to have faith in the higher powers. See, the thing is, if Saturn being your 10th and 11th lord is there in the 12th house, but at the same time, fourth house is being blessed with the presence of an exalted Jupiter over there. So that means deep in your heart, in your emotions, divine protection is there. All what matters is how rooted you are in the life. So when I say rooted, some people are rooted because of their faith, because of their strong resolution, in the family support, in the divine protection, whatsoever it is for you, whatever works for you. So that level of rootedness, groundedness will help you navigate this retrograde Saturn. And any act of charity, donation, social work will be highly rewarded. Any pitri karmas, any pilgrimage during this time will be highly rewarded. So yes, friends, that's all what I can say for the Aries natives. Now, friends, when we talk about the Taurus, So friends, for the Taurus, Saturn becomes your Yokarak planet, being the ninth lord and the 10th lord. It is there in the 11th house. That goes without any saying that retrograde Saturn is a time of the introspection, of the recalibration. Saturn is a very good planet for you. So that means even if it is going to be slowing down your gains, your income, or some sort of sudden hurdles in your wish fulfillment, it might have a distant, a longer, a bigger plan in place. So very first thing is that friends, because in your case, Saturn is going to be aspecting your first house as well. And generally have seen like when planet like Saturn give its aspect from the 11th house, so it becomes very important for you to don't get overwhelmed, overshadowed by a public image. A lot of the times I have seen like people are like buying a phone, buying a car, living in a house which is beyond their affordability, but they just want to have that front in the society that they are successful, or just to oblige to the social protocol. So I mean to say, during this time, Saturn might be hard for those people. So do what is in your capacity, do what is suited, tailor made for you, rather than just maintaining a front in the society. Along with that, friends, like what I have seen that during this time, the retrograde will slow down your external rewards. Your professional network, friendship, and long term goals are going to be under very deep evaluation. Old cash flows or past professional opportunities may resurface for renegotiation, because again, it's not only that Saturn is going to be retrograde in the 11th, it will bring the connections, people from the past, but because Jupiter is also exalted in the third house, it is also triggering new initiatives as well at the same time. So they both will work in cahoots. So, the way I mentioned, old cash flow or past professional opportunities may resurface for renegotiation. Look closely at your social circles. It's time to separate true allies from superficial acquaintances. Now, friends, when we talk about the Gemini, so friends, for the Gemini, Saturn is there in your 10th house. See, the thing is, people have this wrong notion. When they look at Saturn being in the 10th house, they somehow come to this conclusion, oh, Saturn is going to be creating hardship. And some people say that, oh, Saturn in the 10th house, that means you could be like in the top of your chosen field. Again, ultimately, the pros and cons of a 10th house Saturn is that your profession will always have lot of friction, lot of accountability, and moral compass throughout in the life is going to be very high. Because otherwise, the thing is, for Capricorn person, Capricorn native ascendant, you can actually deal with Saturn in the 10th house, because Capricorn in itself is very hardworking, very career oriented. Gemini energy is very like free flowing, very frivolous. So, like having Saturn in the 10th house is kind of a pressure which you cannot evade. And now, because Saturn is going to be turning retrograde as well, so that also tells about many of your past files will open during this time. Your past actions will be like renegotiated, or they will be reassessed during this time. So your performance will be reviewed during this time. I generally recommend, like when you have Saturn in the 10th house, it is retrograde, we will be having like eclipses. Many planets will be crossing the domain of the Ketu in the third house. So my recommendation is that don't initiate something new, especially if you do not have any prior experience or knowledge in that field. That is very much valid, especially in your career front. So, sudden U turn, suddenly venturing out into something new, major big investments. So, be very careful in this department. So, friends, the professional pressure will increase during this time. Expect a rigorous audit of your career foundation, leadership style, and long term professional trajectory. If you have been taking shortcuts at work, Saturn will demand course correction. Boss or authority relationship might feel strained. Use this phase to refine your craft behind the scenes rather than pushing aggressively for a promotion. Now, friends, when we talk about the Cancer natives, so friends, in your case, we know this thing that like Saturn has a rulership over your seventh house, your public image, your relationship, your commercial gains, and the eighth house, joint resources. Saturn is there in the ninth house, which is the house of the Dharma, higher learning, and your father. The blessing for you right now is that Jupiter is already exalted in your first house. So now comes the question how this trajectory is going to be working out for you. So friends, generally it has been seen that when you have like two slow moving planets, a planet of fortune, a planet of karma, being in the trine houses, the Lakshmi Sthana. So we generally say this thing that even if Saturn is going to be restraining the prospects of the luck, Jupiter will ensure that the free flow of the opportunities will be coming. Like there is going to be that divine protection which is going to be there over you. So, friends, all what I can say is that your like foundational beliefs, higher philosophy, and relationship with mentors or paternal figures will undergo a serious review during this time. If you're pursuing higher education or complex certification, the workload might intensify, requiring double the effort for the same results. Legal matters or long distance travel plans will require meticulous double checking for any hidden errors. And again, friends, a lot of the times life put you in a situation because you have to understand in your case, you have two very heavy karmic planets impacting your two houses of the family and the family foundation. So Ketu in the second house, the ancestral blessing, and Saturn in the ninth house. So that also tells about like a lot of the times people say this thing, oh, if given a chance, I will build a temple in my family village. I will build a temple for my Kul Devata. If given a chance, I will do this thing for my parents, for my family. So this is the time for you to do that. So anything connected with the Pitri Karmas or Shrad, Tarpan, or any charity in the name of your family. See, people say this thing that a charity is supposed to be anonymous, uh, private, secret, but we know this thing that some people like they just want to honor their ancestors and their family name. So, and a strengthened, consolidated family name over their second house, ninth house plays a very significant role. We know this thing that I'm an astrologer, right? A lot of the astrologers who are considered as very successful, very accurate in their field, they come from a lineage, right? So that means there is a devata which is blessing their lineage. So that sort of thing only happen when your second house, your ninth house, your ancestors, your kul devata, they are happy. They are all in synchronicity. They're blessing. So this is the time for you to do something for your kul devata, for your parents, for your ancestors, and do something in their name to honor their name. So yes, friends, that's all what I can say for the Cancer natives. Now, friends, when we talk about the Leo, so friends, for the Leo, yes, this is not a very easy transit, and it is going to get intensify. August is going to be the eclipse month, and now major planets will cross through this Ketu from your first house in the next 4 months. So, and now Saturn is going to be retrograde in the eighth house. So, again, friends, Saturn is not a very friendly planet for you. Eighth house Saturn might be very good for many other reasons like long life, or we say like interest in occult, sadhana, penance. But when we talk about the free flow of the life, like because in your case, Saturn has a say over the sixth and the seventh, right? Your daily life, your fighting spirit, your relationship, and all is being governed by Saturn. So now being retrograde in the eighth house, it will bring out many deep churning, deep complex issues from the past will come out on the surface. So I would say, friends, this is one of the most intense placement. Saturn halts superficial progress to pull you into deep psychological transformation. Joint finances, inheritance, taxes, and shared resources must be audit checked. Avoid any risky or speculative financial moves and prioritize the physical conditioning like endurance and deep recovery, as because your energy reserves are undergoing a very strong fundamental recalibration. So yes, that's all what I can say for the Leo natives. And let's say, for example, if any of those lawsuit or ancestral dispute or any divorce proceeding, if all of that is getting applicable in your case in this period of time, you have to be very very careful. Do the japa. I always say like people have given this kind of image to Saturn that it is very tough to negotiate. It's not like that. If I were to say the karmic planets, like more karmic is like Rahu and Ketu. But when it comes down to Saturn, Saturn gets pleased very quickly, especially through charitable acts, through the japa, meditation. So Saturn gets pleased as well. So do the remedies if apart from this state of Saturn in the transit, if Saturn is also active in your dasha right now, and all these eighth house related complex things are getting applicable in your case, any surgery, any divorce, any lawsuit, if any of those things are getting applicable in your case in this retrograde phase, you have to do the remedies to have a shield around you. Now, friends, when we talk about the Virgo natives, so friends, for the Virgo natives, we know this thing that Saturn is a good planet for you. Right now, a lot of the good things are happening for the Virgo natives, like Rahu in the sixth house is considered as strong, Jupiter exalted in the 11th house, Saturn in its original, like Kal Purush placement of exalted in the seventh house. So, a lot of the good things are happening. So, now when Saturn will turn retrograde, so I would say that the spotlight will fall on your primary relationship. This could be personal or professional. So I would say that existing cracks in the commitment can no longer be ignored in this phase, because Saturn demands that you stop people pleasing and establish clear unyielding boundaries. And also, it is not necessarily a time for endings, but rather for rebuilding the contractual foundation of your life on raw honesty. So yes, friends, in your business fair, some sort of long impending projects will demand rework, and once this retrograde phase is going to be over, they can suddenly catapult, they can suddenly skyrocket. So high possibility of that. And expect, like, we generally say that Saturn retrograde is a payback time. And see, when we talk about the seventh house is like a grocery store in a freeway, in a highway. You do not know who your next walk-in client is going to be. There's nothing called as very assured when we talk about the seventh house. Seventh house is like public place. Anyone can walk in, and like you have to deal with that. And generally, when we talk about the payback, people you have had any past history, so those are the people you will be dealing with in this phase. So good time for like giving an audit to your business, working on the cracks in your existing relationship, and how you want to establish yourself in the eyes of the world, in the eyes of the public, especially those people who are like already holding any public office, any public seat. This is going to be the time of very strong level of accountability. That's all what I can say for the Virgo natives. Again, friends, in your case, Jupiter is exalted. Jupiter is expecting the Saturn back as well. That means it is it is like divine protection is there for sure for the Virgo natives. Now, friends, when we talk about our next, which is the Libra. So, friends, for the Libra natives, we know this thing that Saturn is a Yokarak planet. Right now, Jupiter is exalted in your 10th house. Saturn is considered as strong in the 6th house. It is now retrograde. So, how it will turn out? So, friends, to begin with, we know this thing that 6th house is the house of the dead, deceased, enemies, and the daily routine. So over here, Saturn excels in the sixth house, making this a highly productive, I would say laborious kind of transit for you. So this retrograde might bring some old debts, or some health issue will come onto the surface to be resolved, or there might be some unresolved workplace conflicts back to the surface for the final resolution. So this is going to be a golden discipline to restructure your daily discipline, I would say, and overhaul your physical training regime. So I would say that because especially because sixth house, somehow the Artha triangle, second house, sixth house, 10th house, has a say over our work ethics, our career endeavors, and all. So Jupiter exalted in the 10th house somehow is protecting your, I would say it is protecting your public image, your reputation, your career endeavors. So this gives you kind of a wiggle space if you want to experiment with something. So for example, if one way of executing your duties is not working out, you want to experiment with something else in your daily schedule, you want to experiment with some new things and all. So this is going to be the time for that, because trust me, it is not going to be happening that things will backfire in your career, because Jupiter is holding it together. Jupiter is holding it together. And yes, friends, if you want to come up with a plan for managing your debts, or like let's say for example, in the past you have had some fallout issue with the co-workers, you want to extend an olive branch, start fresh. So all of that is possible. Saturn again is a good planet. It only had good things in store. You want to like replan your mortgage plans and everything, it is a time for that. So I would say for the Libra natives, if you are a kind of optimist, hardworking person, and you want to make a difference in your career and want to give it a kind of a fresh perspective, fresh start, this is going to be the time for that. So, and friends, now what is going to be happening in the next 4 months? Eclipse month is going to be August. Like your fifth house, 11th house axis is going to be coming into the scrutiny. Over and above that, many planets will cross the axis of the Ketu from the 11th house. So that means many fruits from the past, like many seeds which you have sown in the past, knowingly or unknowingly, many favors and help you have given to people in your social circle, that will resurface back. So what you have sown, a lot of that will be earned in this time. Saturn will ensure, Jupiter in the 10th will ensure, and the transiting, conjuncting planets with Ketu in the 11th house will ensure in this phase. So, my best wishes. Now, friends, when we talk about the Scorpions, so friends, for the Scorpions, we know this thing that Saturn is your third and the fourth lord, transiting in your fifth house and being retrograde in this phase. So, friends, to begin with, we know this thing that, see, fifth house is the house of the intellect, romance, children, speculation. If, let's say, for example, malefic planets like Saturn and Rahu in the fifth house is not considered as very good for the living signification. So, but when we talk about, like, for example, I have seen many people who are in a counseling field and people who have when we talk about people like Christopher Nolan, people who are responsible for magnum opus, big creative projects, big planning for those creative endeavors, you will find somehow Saturn influencing their fifth house. So that means planet like Saturn in the fifth house comes with its own pros and cons. So obviously, if you have dedicated your whole life to your creative career, but it might have taken a toll that you stayed single and there are many pros and cons. So I mean to say yes, but for this context, friends, so creative expression and the romantic pursuit may feel temporarily restricted or heavy during this time. If you have children, their routines or needs will require structured attention. And for students or creators, this is an invitation to review, edit, and master your technical skills. So I would say that avoid any speculative risk in the markets. Focus instead on the slow compounding efforts in this phase. Because when fifth house is the house of our poor punya, right? This is very important. All the houses in our chart, we say that ninth house. Why ninth house is important? Because ninth house tells about that portion from your sanchit karma, which will give you divine protection, blessing, easy access to opportunities in this lifetime. But fifth house is the reservoir of all those deeds from the past, your divine intelligence. So I mean to say, if Saturn is going to be there, so Saturn is auditing it. So that means how you act in this phase. Beyond any doubt, you have exalted Jupiter in the ninth house, but at the same time, Ketu in the 10th house. All the like eclipse is in the month of August is going to be impacting your 10th house. Major planets are going to be crossing your this Ketu from the 10th house. That means a lot is happening right now. So be very mindful of not taking any abrupt decision in your career. And the fifth house, just refrain from any negative, pessimistic thinking. And if you will plan yourself very well in any speculative nature of work and all, or if you are an artist and all, this introspection, recalibration can pave path towards some big opportunities as well. Now, friends, when we talk about the Sagittarius natives, so friends, for the Sagittarius natives, we know this thing that like Saturn is transiting in your fourth house right now. The fourth house is the house of your home, emotional peace, your maternal nourishment, and all. And over and above that, Saturn is going to be turning retrograde in your fourth house. So this the focus will shift entirely to your inner sanctuary. We say that issues surrounding the real estate, property, foundation, or your mother's health may require dedicated attention. And your internal emotional peace is going to be tested in this phase. So it will force you to find the grounding within yourself rather than relying on the external validation. So I would say this could be an excellent time to repair your structural issues at home or streamline your domestic responsibilities. So a lot of the times, friends, I have seen, because it's not only that Saturn is there in the fourth house retrograde, but somehow Jupiter is also exalted in the eighth house. Many of the paternal family dispute get resolved in these kind of alignments. You have Ketu also there in the ninth house, Rahu in the third house, and this whole eclipse season in August will impact your third and the ninth axis. Many planets will transit through getting conjunct with Ketu in the next 3-4 months. So I mean to say, divine ancestral blessing are definitely going to be there. And because your ascendant lord being in the eighth house exalted is also indicating some, we say that the opening of the chakras or major life transformation, higher conscious awareness. So a lot is happening in your case. And Saturn's retrograde will not act against it. It will work in cahoots. So it will give you that level of groundedness and vision and maturity to handle all those transformation changes which are bound to happen in your life. So yes friends, all what I can say is that just prioritize like what feels good to you. Work on your groundedness, rootedness. This is not the time for like craving for superficial temporary kind of things. Look for the rooted and the groundedness in your life. Now, friends, when we talk about the Capricorn, beyond any doubt, Saturn is your governing planet, very important planet for you, being there in the third house. Saturn's transit in the third house is considered as very good, beyond any doubt, and now it is going to be turning retrograde. So now, friends, the way I see it, because a ruling planet retrograde in the third house will test your sheer willpower and your daily execution, like projects like writing, media, communication, like short distance logistics, will require deep revision in this period of time. So you might feel that before, if you have to give any audition, you have to give any performance, you have to prepare for any meeting, you can just say that, like, there is a word in English I forgot, that without any preparation you can be spontaneous and you nailed all of that. But in this period of time, those superficial hush hush kind of approach will not work. And along with that, we say that you may feel like you are exerting immense effort with slower visible progress, because all sort of initiatives, development, progress generally comes from the third house. So Jupiter in the seventh house is giving you the alliances, connection with the right set of people. But again, because Saturn is your ascendant lord, right? So the way they say, there is a saying that even if you have the most successful people and everyone around you to push you, to support you, but if that is not in your fate, if that is not in your bhagya, or the right time has not come, the right time has not come, so what else can happen, right? So I mean to say, Saturn will ensure like the progress is getting slowed down during this time, irrespective of commanding a good public image and support in the society, but it is for your good. All that recalibration which will happen in this time is for your good for sure. And whatever you do as a part of your livelihood and all, being well prepared is very important. So yes friends, all what I can say is that Saturn is simply building you or your mental and physical endurance, um, with slower visible progress, I would say. And stay patient with your siblings and the close peers. Jupiter exalted in the seventh house is a blessing for you. All the eclipses in the month of the August will happen in your second house and the eighth house. So family, joint resources, your finances are going to be at stake. So how you manage it, all of that will become very important. Sometimes what happens is that we say this thing that denied opportunity is also a blessing in its own way. So that is getting applicable in your case. Because Rahu is always in a rush. And Rahu is also responsible for creating those temptation, those illusion. So if something looks too good, you're very confident about it. Even after that, you're not able to execute it. You're not able to manifest it. It might have something good for you. Because Saturn see things with a very far-sighted vision, which is not the domain of the Rahu. Rahu wants everything now. And Saturn ensures that you will not fall prey to that temptation. So yes, friends, that's all what I can say for the Capricorn natives. Now, friends, when we talk about the Aquarius natives, so friends, for the Aquarius natives, yes, next 3-4 months are going to be very sensitive, because the eclipse season is going to be in the August. So Sadbhisha, Ashlesha domain somehow, seventh house, like sixth house, first house is in the scrutiny. Major planets are going to be getting conjunct and crossing over from the domain of the Ketu. Ketu and Saturn are in a 6-8 kind of combination. So it's going to be sensitive, like many life changes, um, deep churning is possible in the next couple of months. Over and above that, your ruling planet is also going to be retrograde. Especially friends, I would say that for the Aquarius natives, if you are Aquarius moon, This is the last phase of the Sadesati, but we say this thing that in the last phase, Saturn starts giving result. But this retrograde is again going to be the last twist. Again, that friction which you will experience, because I'm sure ever since Saturn moved to the Pisces, it has started loosening its grip, and that time is ain't far. In mid of 2027, Saturn will move out to Aries and your Sadhasati will be over. But this retrograde will again, like you will again feel that friction is coming back. Now this pressure could be on the account of the family. This pressure could be account of like finances. So you have to be very mindful, friends. So I would say that you are at the last phase of your Sadhasati, friends. Saturn audit your financial security and family dynamics. So this retrograde demands a strict review of your liquid assets, budget, and saving architecture. You have to guard your speech. I would say that, see, blunt honesty could inadvertently wound family relationship. I'll repeat again. Blunt honesty could inadvertently wound family relationship. Because see, the thing is, let's say for example, within the Aquarius domain, whether Aquarius is your ascendant or moon sign, but if there is that Sadbisha energy which rules you, Sadbisha might be genius, but Sadbisha is known to be blunt with the speech. So I mean to say, the only thing is that before you might have got an easy pass, but when Saturn is there in the second house, it is retrograde. So we have heard and we have seen those instances where people in the even in the high ranks, they have to resign. They are held accountable because of the slip of tongue. You passed some racist comment and Saturn is going to trap you. You did something which is like very obnoxious, wrong use of words at the wrong time, you are held accountable. So you have to be careful. Again, it is more valid with the Sadbhisha natives, because when we talk about the Dhanistha, when we talk about the Pur Bhadrapada, they are still balanced. Sadbhisha is known to be little bit bitter. It's a kind of a Rakshas kind of energy of that nakshatra, where you have to be careful. So yes, friends, again, if I were to repeat, so this retrograde will demand a strict review of your liquid asset, budget, and saving architecture. Guard your speech. Blunt honesty could inadvertently wound family relationship, and use this time to build a sustainable long-term foundation for your wealth management. Now, friends, and the last, when we talk about the Pisces natives, so friends, for the Pisces natives, it is going to be happening in your first house. The good thing is that your ascendant lord, Jupiter, is exalted in the fifth house. Many planets will pass from like getting conjunct with Rahu and Ketu, I mean to say. Many planets will cross the axis of the Ketu now. Saturn Ketu are in a 6-8 combination. So major churning is happening beyond any doubt. But because your ascendant lord is strengthened in the house of the Sanchit Karma, divine intelligence, so protection is going to be there. You will feel that protection around you. So friends, so this is going to be the epicenter of this retrograde and happening right over there in your first house. So the pressure to evolve is going to be profound. Saturn will directly aspects your natal chart score. So we know that like demanding absolute self-honesty, something which Saturn rewards and appreciate. So physical fatigue might force you to optimize your lifestyle, rest cycle, and training methods. And you're shedding an old skin. So any illusion you hold about your identity are going to be stripped away to reveal your raw, resilient, and authentic self during this time. So yes, friends, that's all what I wanted to say. I'm sure that I will be uploading my views and inputs on the upcoming eclipse and this 6-8 combination of Saturn Ketu, major planets crossing Ketu, and its impact in the world. I will make a separate video on that. But as of now, this is what I wanted to talk about. My inputs on this retrograde motion of the Saturn in this period of time from July to December for all of us. So I hope, friends, you have got some info from this video. So for further more updates and notification on the divine science of Vedic astrology, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on my social media accounts. Thank you, friends.